have a question, if I may. How long do we suspect that there will actually have to be governmental incentives to get people to buy EVs? At what point? What is the percentage of EV adoption that governments have to see where they finally say, well, it's not going to require incentives to get people to buy them anymore?
I can take it. The way I think about it is that there doesn't need to be any today. So I think the incentives, in my opinion, I think the incentives are in place for everyone else to catch up to where Tesla has been this whole time. Because if you think about where Tesla ran out of their incentives in 2019, early, something like that. And they were still by far the best-selling EV in the US easily through 2019 and 2020 with a price penalty of $7,500, and people still bought them. So I would say that the incentives from the government are absolutely not needed for the EV adoption to continue. But because they are, just by happenstance, Tesla and other EV makers will win big. But I think, this is my opinion, I think it's more of a bailout for other automakers to survive the decade into the transition so that people will actually buy their cars. Because from a cost perspective, they're not competitive. Ford, we all know Ford, how much they lose on their cars. We know GM loses money on their cars. We know VW loses money on their cars. Tesla's the only profitable one. And without some sort of break to the consumer, these guys can't make money.
I think it's just going to depend on the administration too.
And real quick, Farzad, how much does Lucid lose on every car?
$500,000.
Yeah.
And that's not even a joke. Yeah.
555,000
per vehicle. Yeah.
Yes.
Per vehicle. It's wild.
But I also wanted to say, responding to what Brandon said, the highest state with EV adoption is California, where I live, of course. And I was out this last weekend with a family member driving around, and gas is $5.49 a gallon for the regular. Just regular old gas. So to his point, I think where you see the state with the highest gas prices also has the highest EV adoption rate. There is a correlation there. People sort of get kind of tired of that. But I also want to say that California is also one of the highest household income states. So as car prices are the same across the nation, a EV in, say, Alabama costs the same as it does in California, yet my household income in California is a lot higher. Thus, it makes it a lot more of an affordable vehicle. And I think until EVs get down to that point, till we see the Model 2s, whatever we're calling them, the $20,000 EVs, that it'll continue to be a slower adoption. I think once we get down to that 20,000 price point, especially, I think that's when we'll see a spike, because a lot more people can afford those vehicles. And then that will, in turn, drop the price in the used market.
I think the counter, like the oxymoronic thing, I guess is the word I'll use. The thing that seems weird but is true is that for every dollar you spend, regardless of whatever EV you buy, if you buy a like-for-like vehicle, like say a Model 3 versus a 3 Series, which are kind of in the same class, right? Over the life of the vehicle, the EV will be significantly cheaper to run per mile than the gas car. And this is across every single vehicle maker, because there's way less moving parts, so there's much less maintenance. And the fuel, gas versus electric is way cheaper. But it's the upfront cost that right now is the limiting factor. It's the thing that's like not allowing everyone to jump in. But once financing options and the initial cost of the car comes down, and we talked about this on Car Edge, Ray, with Zach as well, I think, is that if you're able to, or when you guys came on my channel, there is a world very, very soon where an automaker could come out with their options that says, hey, loan, electricity, insurance, all these things all in, $500 a month, and you drive a brand new EV off the lot. And that is the dynamic that the EV offers that the gas car doesn't today. And that, in my opinion, will be the thing that really kicks this into a different stratosphere. And it goes back to Brandon's point of cost. I think this This is the EV advantage long term, is cost. It's not performance. It's not how it looks or how it performs or the technology. It's cost. The cost per mile of the vehicle is much cheaper. You just have to get it so that the person can afford it up front.
Do we think that as EVs end up taking more market share away from gas vehicles moving forward, that once that happens, the cost of electricity will skyrocket in this country?
That's an interesting question. That's a very interesting question. Yeah. So it all depends on useful capacity. Justice, did you have any thoughts there? I have a few, but I don't want to monopolize the conversation. Sorry.
No. Yeah, I'll just keep mine short because I do want to hear your answer to that. But this is something that I have said. A lot of the comments I'm reading from non-EV people are sort of misinformation. But this one is a real one that I do think is something to watch out for. Is once you're in a captive market, those who supply energy captively are always going to act the same. In this case, I said this before, a lot of these electric companies are municipal. So, and that's what I'm under. So they're government run and government owned. And I have never known the government to go, nah. Well, we're going to go ahead and lower the rates and you can keep more of your money. I've just never heard that from the government. So I do see them going, oh yeah, well, we're going to have to raise rates because everybody's on the grid now. So this is a serious issue. I do think needs to be addressed. Obviously, solar panels and battery backups help solve some of this.
I don't even think you need that. So one of my good friends, Matt Smith, who comes on my channel often, he used to work for a utility for like 10, 15 years. So this dude is like super into the world of utility and electricity. So where electricity, the reason why it costs spike is because there's way more demand than supply. And these plants are designed to sort of, ramp up in the day, ramp down during the night, ramp up during the day, ramp up during the night. But this ramp up, ramp down is the most expensive part of running a utility. What an EV allows you to do is it allows you to keep the levels a lot more even through the day and night. And so what I suspect will happen is as EV adoption grows, utilities will incentivize you to charge yours at night so that they don't have to shut down the plants, because shutting down the plants and putting them back up is what really costs them money. The reality is that the grid in the United States, the reason why it sucks is not because there's not enough capacity, it's because it's stupidly inefficient. We have all these plants that are maximally, like we have, say, the ability to service 1 trillion people in the United States, but because everybody is running their ACs at summer at 7 p.m. all at once, that's what really brings the load on the system. But if you are able to charge your EV at night, you literally don't need any additional capacity. That will allow the utility to keep the rates even overnight. So unless everyone decides to charge their cars during the day, then prices will spike. But what will happen, this is sort of supply and demand economics, the utilities will say, we will give you a break if you charge yours at night. And that's going to allow people to just say, well, I know my car is going to get me to where I need to be all day because it has 300 miles of range in like 99% of use cases. And so it's actually going to help the utility run more efficiently. So actually make them more profitable and save people money on fuel. It has like this dual effect. It's wild. And this is one of those like little known facts because there's not enough EVs on the road to experience this, but I predict this to happen over time for sure.
So that might be a thing, but the government already taxes the crap out of gas. Everybody needs it, right? So I would imagine they're going to tax the crap. So it might be efficient and it might not cost the actual companies that are producing this electricity. The government's going to get its piece.
That's fair. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
that's a fair point.
But to your point, Farzad, and I think Ray and I have talked about this on our show before. Was energy storage? I think helps on a lot of this. As we're storing energy as it's produced. California here, we have a lot of green energy. So we're storing a lot of it. So you don't need the peaker plants, which is what you're talking about of that demand and all that cost is you have to build another power plant just for these couple hours a day that spike up. So when you don't need the peaker plants because you've stored the energy and you can disperse it evenly, or when the spikes come up, you already have the energy stored. You don't need to produce more of it. I think that helps. But in the end, I'm agreeing with Brandon on this. Is the government's the government, and energy suppliers are energy suppliers, and we've already seen in every sector what both of those entities do. And I think there is some validity to they'll raise prices not because they need to, but because they want to.
Right.
I would say that would happen under any circumstance. So it's not really an EV thing. I mean, the EV thing might be the catalyst, but what that opens the door for is distributed utilities or new utilities that come on board that actually disrupt the old utilities through, say, solar and batteries. And, those guys are, I think it opens up an opportunity for a better way of doing it. And that's, we might have a spike in the short term, but I think long term, it's just from a technology perspective, it's obvious. It's so much cheaper. It's just a matter of who's going to come in and disrupt, and is it going to be captive? It will be captive for a while, and people will kind of hold on to their pearls for as long as they can. But I think, like anything else in history, at some point, somebody will come in and break it.